All right, y'all, we're back. This is part 2 of the first episode of Briggscast right here on YouTube.com. And it's probably going to be on some other platforms as well. Just keep an eye open for that. Again, I am not in New Orleans like the rest of the wrestling world. I am here in Navarre, Florida, wishing I was at WrestleMania Access right now, but I'm not. But on the bright side, I am now joined by the great Wes Adams. What's going on, buddy?
Oh, not much. That's 2 words I've never heard used to describe me before, but I appreciate it. Glad to be here.
It's the first time for everything. So I'm going to start off with something that's not necessarily wrestling related, but it is in the kind of the same realm because I just saw this come across my Twitter account at the Dustin Briggs. And apparently Conor McGregor has a warrant out for his arrest.
Oh, see, that's what I love about being on the boat fishing all day is because I'm separated from reality and I don't get to hear about stuff like this. So please enlighten me.
So this says apparently this guy, Michael Chisa, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name wrong, he was scheduled to fight at UFC 223 on Saturday, but he is now off the card after he suffered multiple cuts from Conor McGregor's attack on his bus and team. So, apparently, several members of McGregor's group began tossing objects at the bus. A window was shattered. A bench was thrown. And Dana White has put out a warrant for the arrest of Conor McGregor in New York City tonight.
Oh, so Dana White is the sheriff now, huh? He can put out warrants for people's arrests?
Apparently so. He's calling for the warrant. So he said his plane can't leave New York, apparently. So he's pressed charges, if somebody's pressed charges or whatever. Here, I'm scrolling through Twitter here, and one guy says, and I quote, as bad as Conor McGregor's latest antics are, we should remember that the Big Boss Man once drove away with the coffin at Big Show's father's funeral, and that was all quickly forgotten about.
But there was a big difference there. Big Boss Man recited a very tasteful poem. Accompanied that.
We've got somebody else. McGregor did more promotion for UFC 223 in one day than Dana White did in 3 months. Well, then.
Yeah, nope, I had not yet heard that. So thank you very much. I'm going to be up even an hour later past bedtime than I normally would be looking at Conor McGregor arrest warrants.
Well, we know all about people that have arrest warrants now, don't we? But we won't get into that.
Okay.
So let's talk WrestleMania.
Well, okay. Here's the thing. I'm going to call this right now. I think the whole arrest warrant thing's a work, so Conor can make a surprise appearance WrestleMania Sunday.
Is he going to be Braun Strowman's surprise partner?
No, he's going to be the surprise entrant in the women's battle royal.
Oh, that would be something else.
If you're listening, you're a good sport, and we'll see you in court, buddy.
And then you can send him a cake that says he'll never perform again.
That idea is still genius.
So let's talk about WrestleMania. I asked Nate Crown the same thing. Which match are you most looking forward to on the card this year?
Man, unlike some of the past WrestleManias, there's several really good matches to look forward to this year. Obviously, the Shinsuke and AJ Styles match is something that everybody's wanted for years, and to be getting it on the WrestleMania stage is amazing. That's something to look forward to. Now that we've got the surprise return of Daniel Bryan and looks like Shane McMahon against Owens and Zayn, that's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Me personally, I'm looking forward to Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, just because I know they're going to beat the hell out of each other. One thing that I think a lot of people don't remember is, 3 years ago, WrestleMania 31, when they were wrestling, they were beating the snot out of each other, and they were having a great match until Seth Rollins ruined it by cashing in his Money in the Bank. But we won't get into that. That was 3 years ago. But I think, I think they're going to have a really, really physical match, and they're going to beat the hell out of each other. I know a lot of people are looking forward to the whatever is going to happen between John Cena and The Undertaker. That's something to look forward to. The triple threat match between Miz, Balor, and Rollins. There is a lot to look forward to at WrestleMania. The Braun Strowman mystery partner versus the Bar. The Usos, the New Day, and the Bludgeon Brothers. I mean, there's a lot to look forward to at WrestleMania this year. And
if I wanted to watch WrestleMania, where could I watch WrestleMania? What network is that on?
It's on a network. You can't get it on pay-per-view on DirecTV.
It's on the WWE Network for the low price of $9.99.
Oh,
and it's free if you're a new subscriber.
And that still bothers me.
I know, you're giving it away for free.
Well, as a promoter, from a promoter standpoint, and you've promoted shows, and I've promoted shows. I die a little each time they give WrestleMania away for free, because I know they don't care about this. But when the biggest company in the world gives the biggest show in the world away for free, do you know how hard that makes for a local independent to charge for a ticket?
Yeah.
Why would you pay $10 to watch a local independent when you can get WrestleMania for free once a year? Man, I don't know. You should not be able to watch WrestleMania for free under any circumstances. That's just my beef there.
Yeah, I agree. Especially with the stat card they have this year. I want to go back to the Roman Reigns Brock Lesnar matchup. There's some rumblings in the IWC, who apparently knows all. They're expecting a plot twist to end this match. Do you see anything interesting happening, i.e., Paul Heyman turns on Brock Lesnar and joins forces with Roman Reigns?
I think so. I think that would be a very interesting turn booking, and we got to remember, back in 2002, almost 16 years ago, Heyman turned on Brock to go with the Big Show at Survivor Series 2002. So it's not something that hasn't been done before. It's been a long time. But I definitely could see that getting a lot of people talking, because they're going to need some new angles and storylines to keep people's interest after WrestleMania. And with the situation of Brock's contract, is he going to UFC? Is he staying with WWE? Up in the air. I think now would be a great time to do a major swerve like that. So
do you see that turn Reigns heel, or will Heyman turn face? Will we see a double turn? What do you see?
I kind of would see it as them just letting the fans decide. Just do it. Have Heyman turn. Have Reigns just keep doing what he's doing, and let the fans decide. If the fans decide that they want to cheer Heyman and cheer Reigns, go with it. But if they decide to boo, and it's going to take a lot for the fans to boo Paul Heyman. But at the same time, I think, I think Roman Reigns gets criticized very unfairly by a lot of the internet wrestling community. Roman Reigns, he's a better worker than he's given credit for. Nobody can deny that he looks the part. He looks like somebody you wouldn't want to meet in a back alley, which to me is a big part of being a main event wrestler. You have to look the part, and he certainly does. I don't think anybody would dispute that he needs help in the promo department. I don't think he would dispute that himself. But he would provide that for him. And I think, the reason so many people turned on him is just not necessarily because of him, but the way he was booked. The booking, same thing with John Cena for all those years. It's the booking that splits the crowd on these guys. And I think that will be something that maybe could help edge people back into his favor.
Well, because, when he was part of the Shield, when he was the muscle of the Shield, he was over. He was cheered. And, he's over now, but not necessarily getting the reaction that they're wanting to get for him.
Exactly. And he was over up until the point where he won that Royal Rumble that everybody wanted Daniel Bryan to win.
And now, see, that's another dynamic with this WrestleMania. You've got to say that Daniel Bryan is going to get the biggest pop of this show. If you think about the story, 3 years away from the business, he comes back, he's able to compete at WrestleMania. We may have another situation here where the fans will shit on the rest of the show after Daniel Bryan's match if he's not one of the main events.
Yeah, that's a very good point. But also, I'm really concerned about Daniel Bryan's comeback. He's been out for 3 years. He's noticeably smaller than he was 3 years ago. And he's going into a match with, two very physical workers. I'm not the biggest Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn fan there is, but those two guys, they work hard.
Yeah.
And I'm really afraid to see Daniel Bryan get hurt again.
Well, hell, when he was first back and he took that bump with the power bomb on the apron, I was like, good God, already?
Yeah. And I don't see his body being able to withstand a full-time schedule again. Not that I have not heard anything to the point of him working full-time again, but any kind of schedule, even if it's part-time schedule, I mean, Daniel Bryan's body's been through so much. And, I don't want to see him get hurt again. I don't want to see anybody get hurt under any circumstances. But
right.
I just don't want to see him push the limit, too far. Because, we all know how high of expectations he has for himself. But if you push that envelope too far, 3 years out of the business, not having matches, and I'm sure he's been training, he's been working out, but you and I both know that that's not the same as actually having full on out matches.
Right.
I just don't want to see him get hurt again and be put on the shelf because it took him 3 years to get cleared this time. If he goes on the shelf again, he's not coming back.
Yeah, he'll be done. It would be insane for him to get hurt again, and this time it was concussions, but he also has neck issues, People were asking Edge, is there any chance Edge could come back? He's done. There's no way he could come back, and I really believe for Daniel Bryan to have a successful second run, some people are saying, well, maybe he'll have a run like Shawn Michaels had after his comeback. He's really going to have to change his work rate and the way that he works. Because if you look at HBK, when he came back in 2002, he had a different style than the HBK we knew before then.
Yeah, but also too, he had a different type of injury. A lower back injury like Shawn Michaels had is a whole different ball of wax than the neck injury and the concussion issues that Daniel Bryan has had. So that's something to consider too. Because we also know too that within 2 years of his comeback, Shawn Michaels was headlining WrestleMania 20, and like the Shawn Michaels of old. So the lower back issues, were maybe not resolved, but they were better. Concussion issues that just doesn't go away, and it's kind of it's just a scary situation, but again, a lot of people look forward to it, and, definitely could be the biggest pop of the night this coming Sunday.
I think the only thing that would rival it, and we're just going to segue into this, would be if we do see The Undertaker at WrestleMania, which I think if you think otherwise, you're a fool.
Yeah.
This is classic Vince wanting to surprise and swerve people. And now the only thing I can't decide, I don't know if we'll see the Dead Man or if we'll see the American Badass. What are your thoughts?
American Badass is that's what seems to make the most sense. Because, I always felt like the American Badass character is what the Undertaker always wanted to be. When he first, back in 1990, when he first signed with the WWE, he was green. He was only a few years in the business.
Mm-hmm.
And he got his big break, and I can imagine he went to into the meeting with Vince, and Vince saying, "Well, we're gonna make you the Undertaker, pal. You're gonna be a dead man." That's the conversation. Green Undertaker, who was smart to the business as he was even back then. He just he took it and ran with it. But he never got an opportunity. I'm sure what if Vince would have said way back then, "What do you want to be?" He probably would have said some type of biker character, something that the American Badass was. And I always felt like that's what he actually would have been if it were up to him. The Undertaker gimmick is something he took and ran with. And, nobody can dispute that he ran through the field goal, a 1,000 times over during his career. But the Undertaker gimmick was a Vince creation. It wasn't, a Mark Calloway creation. So I kind of feel like the American Badass is what he always wanted to be. And that if he's going to go out, he's going to go out as what he wanted to be. So I kind of...
If you watch the footage from that whole, when he was the American Badass till it was Dead Man Inc., to Big Evil, that whole transition, which is impressive in itself, that he still was able to evolve that biker gimmick within itself. It looks like if you watch that, he's having the time of his life and the most fun as that character.
Right, because he showed a side of himself that he never was able to show before. He was able to cut promos. He was able to talk more. And yeah, that's absolutely right. He did seem like he really did enjoy the American Badass years.
So do you think this is it, or does he come back as the American Badass and have one more run?
I really don't see him having one more run, but I think we're getting as close to the end as we're going to get for the Undertaker. But again, if he's going to go out, he deserves to go out on his own terms, and if, I can imagine Vince saying to him, "Hey, if you're done, how do you want to go out? What do you want to do?" And if Undertaker said, "Well, I want to put on my old Skyscrapers outfit and be me, Mark Callis, and team with Dan Spivey again," Vince, he deserves to go out however he wants to go out. And, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, but, the tradition, is, as you retire, you're supposed to do the favor on the way out. I just feel that the Undertaker is the exception to that rule. I feel that Undertaker deserves to go out on top with his hand raised, because there has not been anybody over the last 30 years give as much to the business as he has, who sacrificed as much as he has.
And I've got to say, too, if you look at the two men, Cena does not need the win. To be quite honest, Cena's on his way out to Hollywood, not certainly not to be the next Rock, but he's on his way out to Hollywood. So what does he gain by defeating the Undertaker? The streak is over. Taker needs to. I didn't think he should have lost a second time. Certainly don't need to see 3 losses at WrestleMania. The streak is what it is, but at the same time, he needs to go out. I agree, on top with his arm raised, and Hall of Fame next year if he is indeed done. So,
and that's totally correct too, because the biggest marquee match that you could have with the Undertaker is with Cena, and it doesn't hurt Cena one bit to lose that match. So therefore, he put Roman Reigns over as the dead man. Roman Reigns gets credit for ending the dead man's career. But again, the American Badass is a totally different animal. So,
right, and that's the other thing. Some guys are like, well, I want to see the dead man. I'm like, well, okay, if you do that and he comes back as a dead man, then that whole emotional segment last year was for nothing. So that's another reason I feel like you have to come back as the American Badass. So, and with Kid Rock going in this year, it just all makes sense. So, what are you thinking about the Asuka Charlotte match at WrestleMania? Who are you picking to win?
It's too early for Charlotte to lose, and I kind of feel like they have their eyes on a Charlotte Ronda Rousey match for next year's WrestleMania. So I definitely see Asuka winning this coming Sunday.
So I don't see it making any. Over.
Yes, absolutely. Even though Charlotte, Charlotte, there's a lot of money with Charlotte. I still feel like it's kind of early for her to lose, but Charlotte's already been on the main roster for getting close to 3 years. She's lost several matches, so it won't hurt her in the long run. I do feel that if they end Asuka's winning streak this soon, that it will do damage to her in the long run.
Not even that, but I think, and this is the same thing with Shinsuke, their promos, just because of the language barrier, is enough to hold them back as it is, because you can just almost see the wind come out of the crowd when they try to cut a promo. They really struggle with that. They might need to put a manager with them to try to get them over.
And that's one thing that they could do. But I also kind of wonder too, like that, as great of a facility as NXT is, how much in-ring work are they doing, and how much work on promos? Because like you said, the promos aren't that great, but we could debate all day long on whether or not cutting a promo, is either a gift, like either you have it or you don't, or you can be taught. But we've seen people improve their promos over the years. But correct, a manager for either one would be fantastic, because Shinsuke, as much as I like his work, his promos are kind of like, I don't know, man. It's like a sandblaster going off in my ear.
Right, and I feel like this is his chance to show us, and fans that aren't familiar with Shinsuke from New Japan, to showcase what he can do, because I don't feel like he's reached his potential in the WWE. I don't know if that's the booking or the way they're structuring his matches, but I feel like this Sunday for Shinsuke is make or break, regardless of the outcome of the match.
It is, and I kind of feel like, with the WrestleMania crowd being, probably better part of 80-85% internet crowd, the pop Shinsuke is going to get when he wins the championship is going to be enormous. And his reaction on SmackDown after, because those cards bleed over from WrestleMania crowd,
right?
Is going to bleed over, and I hope that enthusiasm comes across the TV screen and it just catches on with the casual viewers, and it'll continue to grow for him, because he's definitely different. He's unlike anything WWE's ever had in a champion before, and I'm I'm not the biggest AJ Styles fan. Be honest with you, so I'm ready to see somebody different. Another guy that can't cut a great promo, and that's something that you absolutely have to have. I mean,
so talking about AJ, it's got me thinking about Finn Balor and the Bullet Club. Do you think we'll ever see Cody back in the WWE?
I think we will. I don't know how long, don't know when, but I think we will.
Because, it kind of seems like he may follow the same path as Drew McIntyre, who left, made a name for himself on the Indies, and now he's dominating in NXT when he's not injured. When he gets called up, he's going to be bigger than he ever was during his first run. You got to think, and in my opinion, Cody, as unhappy as he was doing a hell of a job with the Stardust gimmick. He took it, made a Sunday out of it. And so I think he can only benefit from making that move and having the balls to step out from under the WWE umbrella to build his brand and then come back and probably make a hell of a lot more money than he made the last time.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to consider, too, Cody's a WWE trained wrestler. Cody didn't do independence. Cody trained at OVW. He was an OVW talent. He went straight to the main roster. He got called up quick. A lot of that was, not just because he was Dusty's son. I mean, he was a hard worker as well. But I mean, he's a WWE made guy. I feel like he challenged himself. He wanted to see what the Indies were like, and they've been very good to him. And like you said, he's building up his name, he's building up his reputation, and they will at some point, especially as NXT grows, as the brand split continues, he'll be back at some point.
And I think we're moving in the direction where eventually you're going to see the Bullet Club itself in the WWE. Because you've got Prince Devitt, which we all know as Finn Balor. You've got AJ. You'll have, was Adam Cole part of it at one point? I don't remember, but you'll have a good part of the Bullet Club in WWE. So that would be kind of cool to see. I wanted to talk about, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, the thing with the Bullet Club, I don't know a whole lot about the history of the Bullet Club, but I do know that outside of WWE, they are the most over thing in the business today. And if you could somehow reunite all of them under the WWE umbrella, you could potentially have the next NWO invasion if booked correctly. If you get all the main players, the Rhodes, Omega, Gallows, Anderson, Young Bucks, Cole, whoever. And again, like I said, I don't know the history. I don't know everybody in the Bullet Club, but you get enough of the key players together, you could have a potentially major money drawing situation on your hands, because they do have, they have Balor, they have most of the key players already. You just write a couple checks and put the zeros in the right place. Right. That would be a good investment, I believe, because not only would you have, I think you would make more money from, your current, a lot of people away from New Japan. You're going to pull a lot of the internet crowd back to WWE if you do that. But again, we'll see.
We will see for sure. Let's see. So we'll start to wrap up here in a little bit, but I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the indie scene here locally. Of course, with WrestleMania essentially in town, because it's along the Gulf Coast, everybody is in New Orleans. You got Impact is over there, Ring of Honor's over there. A lot of people over there looking to make a name for themselves. So what is your current philosophy on landscape of the Indies along the Gulf Coast. What do you think is right about it? What's wrong about it? And what do we need to do to improve
Um, well, number one, there's a lot of people that are in the ring that have no business being there. They should still be buying tickets. I think that's something we can both agree on.
Right.
I think it's too easy to get involved in the local scene. It's too easy to find a fly-by-night trainer that'll give you 2 or 3 bump sessions, take your $1,000, and throw you in a ring and just let you start having matches. I think we both can agree that that is a major problem.
Mm-hmm.
Another problem is there are too many guys that are in it for the wrong reasons. They're not in it to build the business, build a town, build a territory. They are simply in the ring just so they can have matches because they just want to wrestle. You know, me and you have talked about this before. I don't take very many bookings. I'm not taking a booking unless either I'm helping somebody build something or I'm promoting my own thing. I'm not just going to have a match just for the sake of having a match. And that's one thing why you don't see me use a lot of local talent in Mississippi on the shows that we promote in Mississippi. I don't want to use somebody that will just work for anybody. You know, I don't want to use somebody that just wants to have a match. I want to use somebody that wants to help me build something, help me grow something. You know, how am I going to invest money and time and, you know, a good thought process in booking somebody when they're off doing, you know, $10, $15 jobs for, you know, some schmuck down the road who's promoting a show and claiming he has a TV tape. You know, there's too many guys that are good talents that don't have the ability to say no to some of these turd promotions. Just say no. No, you know, they need to hold themselves to higher standards.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what there's too many guys around that don't have those standards. And the ones that have those standards are badly outweighed by the ones that don't. There's too many guys that are in it for they just want to show off for their ex-classmates or their wives or their girlfriends, or you know, they just want to have a good match, show off their cool couple of moves. You know, they don't care about psychology, they don't care about selling, they don't care about anything as long as they get their stuff in.
So how do you fix it?
I don't know. I've been asking myself the same question for nearly 10 years because the thing is, there are so many guys that are the problem that don't realize they're the problem. You know, they're the guys that have been working the local indies for 10 or 15 years. And even though they've never had a dark match or never even bothered to send in a tape to WWE or Impact Wrestling or ever tried to get a job anywhere, they still strut around the locker room trying to be an agent or trying to tell the green guys what they need to do, what they don't need to do. And there's too many guys like that in the locker room. You know, ones that have never had more than a $40 payday in their career trying to tell, you know, a green guy what they need to do to get seen. You know, there's too many guys like that, and they just need to go away. I think, you know, it's almost to the point where it's unsalvageable. I don't know how you can turn the clock back. You know, back in the day, in the territory days, you know, if I really recommend anybody in the business to read Bob Holly's book and read how hard it was for Bob Holly to break into the business in the territory days. And it's too easy today. It's way too easy. to break in today.
Yeah, it's. I listen to a lot of podcasts and they talk about how hard it was to get in the business. You'd go up to somebody that was a worker and say, "Hey, will you train me?" And they'd turn guys down 6 and 7 times just because they want to see if you really want it. Are you going to keep coming back asking to get trained? Or are you just going to give up? You know, it's even something as simple as that. Or not smartening somebody up to the business, just beating the hell out of them to see if they keep coming back for more.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and nobody's going to come back for more today. Nobody is going to come back for more today because, you know, the drive is gone. I mean, the drive is gone for a lot of people. You know, you have people come up and you know, we can attest to some recent experiences with some trainees that we've worked out with and lack of, you know, proper nutrition, proper exercise, proper diet, proper attitude. You know, there's a very small ratio of the one that had that drive and had the attitude, and then the ones that don't, the ones that look like they should be pushing buggies at Walmart, not being a potential money drawing professional wrestler. Because you're not going to draw money if you look like you should be pushing buggies at Walmart or Target. Why would anybody in their right mind pay to see you?
right. They can see you anywhere.
Exactly.
So,
and how are we supposed to take somebody like that serious as a heavyweight champion or put in a position to where they go over on someone?
yeah, that makes total sense. I agree. So let's do this. We're about to wrap this thing up. I'm going to run down the card for WrestleMania 34. And what I want you to do, if you don't mind, is I'll name the match, and you give me a 1 or 2 word response on who you think is going over. You game?
I'm game.
Andre the Giant Battle Royal.
I don't know who's in it. I don't know who's in it, man.
I'm gonna.
Do you have names of who's in it?
I know Mojo Rawley's in it. Goldust, Matt Hardy. I'm expecting Bray Wyatt to probably show up. They've only named 10 guys, so I feel like it's just, and it's on the pre-show. So,
okay, well then let me throw this out there. Because this is another person we didn't get to talk about who I am very high on as a character, and he's getting better as a worker. Who's been on fire lately as a character is Elias.
Yeah.
I think if he's not involved in anything else at WrestleMania, Elias needs that win. So if he's in it, he should win it. If he's not, I don't know. If they're going to re-debut Bray Wyatt, that will be the time. So number 1 pick, Elias. If he's not in it, Bray Wyatt.
All right. The women's battle royal, if you know who's in it.
I don't, but I'm going to say Sasha Banks. If not Sasha Banks, Bayley.
I think it's going to come down to Sasha Banks and Bayley to further their program they've got going on.
Yeah. So I'm going to say Sasha number 1, Bayley close second.
All right. So next we've got the 205 Live, or I'm sorry, the Cruiserweight Championship, Cedric Alexander versus Mustafa Ali.
I don't know enough about the program to really make a guess on that one. I don't know enough about Cedric. I don't know enough about Mustafa.
See, that's the problem with that brand is, for one, it's after a SmackDown Live and a mixed match challenge taping. So by the time they get to 205 Live, the crowd's dead. They're exhausted.
Yeah.
And they just aren't developing. They're not developing characters. So
who's the heel? Who's the baby face?
I believe this is a face versus face.
Oh man, even harder.
I would pick Mustafa Ali simply because he does a reverse 360 splash. Very impressive. He does a front flip instead of a back flip.
because I'll take your word for it because I don't know enough about that one. So I will. That will get a pretty mega pop. So we'll go with that.
But to be honest, I would rather have one of them get attacked backstage, and we see Neville show back up because he brought legitimacy to that division.
Oh, that would. I am a Neville fan.
Now this is in no particular order. We've kind of talked about this already. Lesnar Reigns, who goes over?
Reigns is over, definitely.
All right, Styles Nakamura.
Nakamura for sure.
Then we've got the triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship: Miz, Rollins, and Balor.
I'm going with Miz.
Really, Miz retains.
I'm going with Miz retains because if you look up and down the card, we're going to need some successful defenses. I don't think we're going to see every title change. And if you look up and down the card, most of the titles are in a position to change. I think Miz is doing a good enough job as a heel right now that they don't need to take the title off of him yet. You can't switch every belt that night. So I think someone needs to retain, and I think that needs to be Miz. So that's me if I'm booking. Miz retains. Probably won't, but that's my pick. That's who. If I was booking, that's who would retain.
That's actually my pick. I say Miz retains with outside interference from the what are they, Misfits or the Miz Taraj. It's a triple threat. There's no DQ. They help him retain. That builds heat on him, and it opens the door up for a further and down the road. So I agree with that. Miz retains. We got the Fatal 4-Way for the U.S. title: Orton, Rude, Mahal, and Rusev. My pick is Rusev. He's over with Rusev Day, and I think it's time.
If I'm booking, it's Rusev. I was glad to see Rusev placed in a match. He's been on fire. He's ready for a babyface turn. I was very disappointed that they didn't put him in a WrestleMania angle sooner. Just to me, as much as I like Bobby Roode as a worker, Randy Orton has always been great, and Jinder Mahal has improved. That is just, to me, is just a heatless angle. And adding Rusev to that match is going to put more fan interest in it. And I agree. I think it's Rusev. It should be Rusev Day.
Rusev Day. We'll see if Sunday is Rusev Day. Alexa Bliss, Nia Jax. Now, this storyline, it kind of reminds me of Michelle McCool and Layla when they were bullies back in the day, and the same thing when the Bellas first debuted as bullies. But you've got Alexa Bliss body shaming Nia Jax. Of course, this brings sympathy for Nia Jax. I say the time is now for Nia to retain, but I would not be surprised if we see a disqualification ending for this match.
That's what I'm going with. Expecting some kind of trickery where Alexa retains. They just kind of scratched the surface with this angle. Nia is going to be the next women's champion. I think there's more money in a little bit longer chase. They just kind of got this going. Alexa's been doing a great job as a heel.
Love her.
I think she gets squashed around a little bit, pulls some kind of trickery, retains. Again, we have another champion keep the belt.
All right. We already talked about Asuka and Flair. I think we both agree Asuka's going over in that one. Next one could be interesting. You've got The Bar versus Braun Strowman and a mystery opponent. I would like to say Strowman goes over because I think he should have had a championship a while ago. But at the same time, does it water down the tag team championship having him defeat The Bar by himself? Or if he does find a partner, with a partner who had no time to prepare for the match?
I think it does water the belt down. But I think there could be a lot of intrigue as Strowman being a one-man tag team champion, and it would do it would do damage to the tag team belts, but it would also do a lot of good building Braun Strowman, who I feel is on a pathway to a world heavyweight championship.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a step in the right direction. So I'm going with Braun. Whether or not he has a mystery partner, or it's just him, I think Braun's going to take this one.
So you've got the book. Who's Braun Strowman's partner?
Nobody.
Nobody. Okay. All right. I can see that.
I just don't. For two reasons. Number one, anybody you put in that position is really going to kind of be a letdown. And I've read online speculation about it being Rey Mysterio, and then people have floated theories about it should be Kurt Hawkins and end his losing streak. The story here is about Strowman. It's about building Strowman up as a monster, and if you put somebody in that space, it's going to take away attention from Strowman, which is absolutely what they not want to do at this point. It shouldn't be Big Cass. It shouldn't be Samoa Joe. It shouldn't be anybody. Strowman needs to be pardon the expression, but a one-man gang for a little bit.
I could agree with that. So we'll go ahead. I'll agree with you. Strowman goes over. New tag team champion. He's the tag team champions.
He's the tag team.
Next up, we've got the triple threat for the SmackDown tag titles. The Usos, New Day versus the Bludgeon Brothers. I'm not crazy about the Bludgeon Brothers. To me, it's just Wyatt Family 3.0. I would like to see the Usos retain just because they've evolved and they're over. So I'm going to go with the Usos.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have to agree to disagree on this one. I got to go with the Bludgeon Brothers. The way they've been building them up. I'm not crazy about the Bludgeon Brothers gimmick. I think that could use some tweaking. Like you said, Wyatt Brothers or Wyatt Family 3.0 almost. But Rowan and Harper, they're hard workers. They're huge guys. And they just put everything they have into whatever WWE has given them to do. This Bludgeon Brothers gimmick should have died on the vine. But for them to have taken it this far and get to a WrestleMania tag team title match, I think the Usos and the New Day have ran with the belts long enough to where it's time to give somebody else a chance. And I think the Bludgeon Brothers have earned it. I don't think the New Day or the Usos are going anywhere, and I don't think it will hurt either one of them to lose to the Bludgeon Brothers. So I think it's time to get them a little run with the belt, and then, hey, either they knock it out of the park or they strike out, in which case it's just a flick of the pencil to put the belts right back on Usos or New Day.
Yeah, I think if Bludgeon Brothers go over, it's a short title reign, and then it's never spoken of again. That's just where I see it. And I say that because they have tried numerous times to push Harper and Rowan, and it's failed every time.
Yep. So I think this is last ditch effort.
So next up, we've got Angle and Rousey versus The Authority. I'm going to go on a limb here and say Ronda wins because you're not going to have her lose her debut match.
Yeah, absolutely not. That would just be not only horrendous booking, but that would just be an absolutely terrible idea. And I kind of get the feeling that the long-term plan is a Ronda Rousey Asuka match. And you got to have both of them going in undefeated.
So I'll tell you something that Jericho proposed is Asuka wins the women's title and holds it until next year's WrestleMania. Oscar Rousey for the women's title, WrestleMania 35.
Absolutely. They should have Chris Jericho on the creative team because that would build a lot of intrigue and a lot of interest.
I would agree with that. Final one on the card. Well, we've got one more that's not officially announced, but we'll go to this one first. You've got Daniel Bryan, Shane McMahon versus Zayn and Owens. If Owens and Zayn win, they'll be rehired to SmackDown. I think it would be a terrible booking decision. It would go against everything wrestling if Daniel Bryan loses. So I say McMahon and Bryan go over. Zayn and Owens move to Raw.
I agree to disagree. I think Owens and Zayn are going to get this one.
You think D. Bryan loses his return match?
I think so, because this angle has really only gotten kick-started because now that Daniel Bryan has received his medical clearance, this angle is just getting underway. I don't see any way for them to send Owens and Zayn to Raw right now because this angle is just now getting to where the oven's preheated and the preheat button just went off because Daniel Bryan's got his clearance. And now you can pay off this 6 months or a year or however long it's been of tension between Shane and Daniel Bryan against Owens and Zayn. And it's too quick to turn it off and send them to Raw. So I see some kind of turn. I could see Shane turning heel on Daniel. I don't see him sending Zayn and Owens to Raw at this point. And, with them being the two full-time workers on the roster, I feel that they both deserve, a WrestleMania victory. I feel they deserve to go over. I mean, even though, Daniel Bryan's been out 3 years and he's coming back, that's great. Shane McMahon, he's a part-timer. That's great too. But, again, like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of Owens and Zayn in the world, but you got to look at it as like these two guys are on the road 300 days a year, working all the house shows, doing all the appearances, doing all the television tapings. They deserve to get the win. If I'm booking, that's the way I go with it. But
all right.
Again, but I could also see if they're booking and catering to the internet crowd, I definitely could see you could definitely make a case for, Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan going over in his return match. But I'm going to go on the side of caution. We need some strong heels to go over at WrestleMania also. And if you give Owens and Zayn a win at WrestleMania, I mean, you have just you've got two scorching hot heels right there.
And I feel you could magnify that if you have McMahon turn on Bryan and boom.
Absolutely.
Instant
Money.
Nuclear heat. So what I feel should be the main event, if it happens, Taker versus Cena. Who goes over?
Taker, absolutely.
Me and Nate were talking earlier, and I was saying I agree with Jericho. I don't think Taker should lose another match for the rest of his career. And it won't hurt Cena to take the loss. Will it hurt Taker to take the loss? No, but he's already put over two people at WrestleMania. In my opinion, with Cena challenging him, to me as a fan, it comes across as Cena's picking the scraps. Two other people have beaten him. Now he wants his. So right. I say Taker goes over convincingly over Cena. Cena rides off into the sunset to Hollywood for a little bit. Taker does what Taker's going to do.
Absolutely. I don't know if they'll close. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the match line up. There's, you could make a case for, that closing the show, Reigns and Lesnar. Definitely could make a case for Shinsuke and AJ closing the show. And I've read some people make a case for the tag match, Rousey and Angle against Triple H and Stephanie to close the show. I think that is a bad idea, but I've seen the case for it. So we have 4 potential matches that could close the show. So it's going to be interesting to see which one is going to close the show. It's not going to be AJ and Shinsuke, but it's going to be one of the other 3 for sure.
Well, I definitely think it's going to be a hell of a show. I think we've got a lot to look forward to. We'll definitely be doing a follow-up next week after WrestleMania. We'll see how everything shakes out and see what happened at the show of shows down in the Big Easy, so to speak. So, Wes, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. We're going to wrap this up. I'm going to head to the gym. But before you go, do you have anything to plug?
Not yet. Not yet.
To be continued.
Definitely to be continued.
Where can we find you on social media? Do you have a Twitter?
Yeah, but I don't remember my Twitter handle. It's tied into my Facebook. I linked them together like 5 years ago, and I don't know. I don't know. I don't do Twitter much. I do Facebook, and that's it. I don't do Instagram. I don't do what else is there?
Snapchat.
Yeah, no, I don't do Snapchat. Yeah, Facebook. That's the way to go. But yeah, not yet.
MySpace?
We'll be
MySpace.
It might still be floating out there somewhere.
Old school.
Never shut it down, but yeah.
Well, Wes, I appreciate you coming on, man. I'd love to have you back next week if you don't mind joining us. We'll see if we can't have wrestling royalty himself join us as well. We'll go over what happened at WrestleMania, and we'll take a look to the future. As far as us, I can say that the CWF will be returning in May. So stay tuned to our Facebook page for that, facebook.com/officialcwf. I am Dustin Briggs. You can check me out on Twitter, Facebook. I don't give out my Snapchat. I don't want any weird pictures from y'all out there. Nonetheless, for Wes Adams, I am Dustin Briggs. Thanks, y'all, for tuning in so much. Wes, we'll see you next week, brother.
Thank you. Looking forward.
All right. Take care.